This is episode 12 that we're recording today. Not
Oh my
crazy?
God. That is
Yeah.
completely crazy. That is, oh, that
Yeah.
is, that is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. So I think that it's good that we do it early in the morning because then it seems to work. And like 12 is also a good time for, like, if you look at like a spiritual sort of timeline of the day, 12 is always going to be better than 2 because it's the turning point of the day.
Yeah,
Like it goes
yeah,
from like
yeah,
morning to night.
yeah,
It's like Sally always talks about the perfect time to meditate and like sort of the turning points of the day, like morning, evening,
yeah.
middle of the
In the
day.
middle of the day.
Yeah.
But that's interesting
Like are
because
the
I already been up since 5:30. So my day has already, I done half of the day, 5:30 to 12. So that's 6.5 an hour.
yeah. But so you have like this is like you're coming together and like
Yeah, this is like
you're
resources.
grounding.
And I have to say that this morning, first I went up early, went to the ocean, went for a swim, came back. It's Father's Day here today, so I had made bread for breakfast. And then Nils took the kids to school, and I went to have my yoga class where I taught just close to the water. So we were just sitting. Yeah, yes, you saw in the picture that you comment. And um, and um, and then I had 2 sessions of that, and it was just wonderful. So I just been out so close to the heaven, to the water, to the sun, to the earth. So I feel completely now tapping into our space.
Grounded.
Yeah,
Grounded.
and
Yeah.
grounded, exactly. Grounded
Yeah.
and connected, because now tapping into our space, it's also a true gift.
Feels perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Feels completely perfect. So
Yeah.
I'm very happy for that.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So
So I
you're
want to
looking
show you something
wonderful today.
actually.
Yes.
Uh, So I went to New York on Friday, which I do very
Oh, you
often.
got a bell, a
So
singing bowl.
I had talked to my friend Mindy, who helps me with editing, and we talked about honoring small bookstores, and we were talking about Bodhi Tree, which was a really amazing bookstore in LA that you've been to that like was like sort of part of the beginning of my journey. But long story short, I decided that when I went to New York, I'm gonna go find some of these little bookstores and they have like a lot of Tibetan stores that sell bells and singing bowls and like so I was walking up Second Avenue and like on St. Mark's Place, sort of, and I was heading to a place called Land of Buddha, which is like a little store that I had found on the internet. And before I even turned the corner, I found another Tibetan little store. And I went in and it was like just packed with, you know, shawls and tchotchkes and but like the real deal. It wasn't like a touristy thing. It was
No,
serious. And the
that's the real
guy,
stuff.
yeah, and the guy who was working there was either of Tibetan or Nepalese descent. Like you can't ask those things, but I could. So he it just felt really important. So I browse around with all the bowls like I do, and then I ended up with this guy, which I don't know how old it is, but he said it was old because I didn't want a new one. So let's see.
Beautiful.
So we
It's so
begin. I've just recently discovered the powerful energy of these singing bowls because I went to a retreat in Monterey before Christmas, which was like a sound healing retreat.
mhm.
And there was a guy there. God, no, I can't remember his name. Duran, I think. It's like a Nepalese guy, and he was talking about the singing bowls and how they make them. And they in Nepal, he showed us a video how when they make singing bowls in Nepal, they literally the whole village is making them together, and they do Buddhist prayers while they're making them. So they're super sacred things. And then I really feel like when you use them, immediately there's like a moment of pause, like you get brought into the energy of the bowl, the vibration of the bowl. So I use them a lot. Like I don't know how to play them. I don't know what tone it is, but I use them a lot like before I meditate just to sort of like sink
Center
into that
yourself.
space. Yeah. And I try to play this little tune that is the same beat as the heartbeat,
Mhm.
so that I sort of like vibrate with the tune of the bowl.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah,
I
I
love
love it. I
I
love
mean,
it too. All
I have
these things.
a friend of mine. She has 16 singing bowls
Wow.
that she's doing. It's quite. I mean, I would love to learn that because I think that that sound and that vibration, it's really it's the magic sound of the
Of the universe.
universe.
No, but it
Exactly.
really, and it works. That's the thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's like we talked about all these tools, like it works to
Yeah.
use singing bowls, like for
Mhm.
everybody. But, of course, not everybody's going to go buy a singing bowl. But anyway,
I
I'm
think
glad I got this guy.
congratulations that you bought the singing bowl. I think that's
Yeah,
so
well, I have
wonderful.
several. I have a few, but this one is the biggest one I have now.
That's amazing. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, honey, should we begin?
Yeah, we can begin.
Okay, so we already have begin,
Yeah, we're
but
babbling away as
we're
usual.
babbling away as usual, but that's part of the process as well. I think that you're looking wonderful today.
Fantastic. I dressed up for you.
I know, and I wish I could say the same for you, but I dressed up interiorly for you. I
Yeah.
just came from the sea, so this is the beach look.
Yeah.
But welcome to everybody who's listening today. Welcome back, and welcome to the ones who are joining us for the first time. Pernilla Burke, the creator and the founder of Awakening 101 website, and also the founder and the creator of this podcast, The Awakening Process of 101, right?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. So, and I'm Louise. We are best friends since the age of 4, and now we're 50 plus. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Still going strong. And yeah, we're going to tap into the theme of surrender. I think that last podcast we started with the topic of surrender. We have already touched with it a couple of times, but we really would like to take it one level, could we say deeper or wider or
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Further, whatever. Yeah.
further?
Yeah.
Good there, further.
Yeah.
So can I start by just asking you, Pernilla, if you could describe surrender in a simple way for you? Could you?
Okay.
Could you?
Actually, I'm gonna just go ahead
Yeah.
to
Oh,
the mothership. So I'm holding
yeah.
up the book, Letting Go: The Pathway of
Mm.
Surrender by David Hawkins, uh, which is a yellow book. So if you're, yeah, now Louise is holding it up too. So if you don't have this book, please get it. Don't read it all at one time because it's just hard to digest. So I went through this, and I have a quick explanation of what he says.
Mm.
So this is the bare bones explanation. The mechanism of letting go. This is page 8 from this book. What is it? Letting go is like the sudden cessation of an inner pressure or the dropping of a weight. It is accompanied by a sudden feeling of relief and lightness, with an increased happiness and freedom. It is an actual mechanism of the mind, and everyone has experienced it on occasion. Is that a good enough explanation, or you want me to go on?
Oh God, I think it's. I think that's amazing. I think it's wow, spot on.
Yeah.
I
So,
like what you said. You said a sudden feeling of relief and lightness. Was that what you said? What he said?
yeah, let's see. I have more things I'm going to read from here. Yeah, sudden feeling of relief and lightness.
And what is he saying about the mind? Because that's the feeling.
He is saying it's an actual mechanism of the mind, and everyone has experienced it on occasion.
And what
But
does
this
it
is
mean?
good. This
Yeah.
is good. Actually, I'm going to read another paragraph because he says this is
Well,
like
I have a little question. I just have a
Mhm,
question about the mind there,
mhm.
because the mind is where it. What do you say? It's a mechanism
Yeah. So what
of
he's
the
saying
mind
is that it's an action of the mind that you surrender.
that gives you that sensation of
Yeah.
relief. And
Well,
I
yeah,
love it. I love it. You got
yeah.
it. Yeah, wonderful.
So this
Yes.
is he says a good example is the next
Mm,
paragraph.
mm.
A good example is the following. You are in the midst of an intense argument. You're angry and upset when suddenly the whole thing strikes you as absurd and ridiculous. You start to laugh. The pressure is relieved. You come up from anger, fear, and feeling attacked to suddenly feeling free and happy. Could we do that? Could we all do that?
Can we all do that? Can we all do
Yeah.
that?
I mean, like I've mentioned this like 1,000 times, but I mean, it took me reading this book 13 times to even be able to do that. But it takes time, I think, because it's not as easy as it sounds, to be honest.
No, and it doesn't also, as you that we have mentioned, and it's a process, right? We need to experience it, and the more we
Yeah,
experience it, the more we cultivate it, the more experience we get with it. Because it's funny, because when you read that, all of immediately my mind is starting, okay, where can I find a hole? Where can I kind of, where does it not fit to me?
your mind starts criticizing this
Yeah,
like the theory.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so great.
Not criticizing, but it's an unconscious, but now it's consciously, but an unconsciously resistant that gets up. Like, okay, everybody can probably do that except me. But what would make me so special that I can't do that? You know what I mean? But that's it. It's like when you come to the
That's
first
so
AA
great.
meeting and you kind of, okay, where's the hole
You're
here?
trying to, yeah,
Uh,
you're trying to find a way around it. Like,
yeah,
yes, so what? Like this sounds good, but it's not going to
but
work for me at all times.
exactly, exactly.
That's so perfect. Oh my God. But that's the human condition. We really think
Interesting.
that we really, for some reason, think that this is not going to work for me and I'm special somehow. And not special in like a bad way, but we just, it's so powerful what you said. So what can
Mhm.
you, so give me an example where your mind is telling you that it won't work.
No, but that's why, already when you said when you read about what he writes in the mind, I didn't want
Mhm.
to get it. I
Yeah,
wanted to
because it's
ask into
difficult.
it.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was like, please explain it for it. And when you then explain it, it was like, okay, now it's too clear. So
yeah.
now now it's even for stupid people.
No, don't say that.
No, no,
But
but you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
now I can't get around it. But I think that, uh, as you said, you read the book 13 times or more, and it's a process. And every time you surrender, it's a new experience.
yeah,
And I guess it's a never-ending story, right? Or a
yeah,
never-ending journey, because we need to surrender over and over every day. And in the first 3 steps in the 12-step program, that's what we do, right?
yeah. But I think that uh the most important practice that I had to do in order to get to a place where I could see examples of it working was
Mhm.
when I understood from David Hawkins that the act of surrender comes after you understand what your feelings are.
Okay.
So, like, it's very hard to surrender when you're really mad and you don't really know why. And you're weird, like if you're really triggered about something, and you don't really
Mhm.
know why. When you're in the middle of something and it's taken over your body and your mind, fear of something or
Mm.
anger at somebody. And if you don't have a sort of a conscious light on what that is, surrender is only going to be a passive aggressive sort of letting go, like, screw it. I
But
mean,
that's also what I reacted when you read, and he said the example, for example, when you're in a discussion, or you feel angry and fear, and you start laughing, then also my other resistance is, yeah, but if I start laughing, um, could that be an excuse for me not be in the feelings of fear and anger? Do you get me?
yeah, yeah. So you feel like it's like a cop out, like
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
cheating somehow.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Well, I'm cheating
interesting.
myself.
Yeah, but you tend to have a very analytical. You have to like figure it out with your head, and I think that's like that. That's also the human condition. We do that.
Mhm,
Like I have to
mhm.
understand this with my mind before I can move ahead. And I think that
And
surrender, you sort of give into that and be like, okay,
mhm,
I don't really understand this, but I know what it feels like. Like,
mhm, mhm.
how can I let go of these feelings without fully understanding why? So I had a phase where um, Robert Jameson, my therapist, who's so great, he taught me something called the anger letters.
Yeah.
So I don't do it anymore, but I had a phase when I did it, and he said, when you're feeling angry, just sit down and write on a piece of paper how you really feel. And so it's a process of sort of recognizing the anger. So I would be upset about something, and then I would go like up into my room or whatever, and I would sit down and be like, "Fuck you, motherfucker! I fucking hate you." I would just go off like, "You motherfucker! I fucking," So these were the letters, like pages of the F word. Um, and then he said, "Write until it runs out." When you just feel like you
I
have
would
no more.
love to see those books, man.
No,
I
no,
would
I I
love.
I I think I actually didn't keep them, but that was the beginning of sort of like expressing anger,
Mm, mm.
sort of because we're so used to being angry and not and like, I might be angry at one thing and then like a month later somebody says something to me and I completely blow up.
Yeah.
And it was really the thing that happened a month ago that makes me angry, but because I don't know how to because I've never really learned how to be healthy about processing any emotion. Like I can snap, days later. So this process, I think, taught me how to really recognize and sort of give life to the feelings within me.
Mm.
And so these days, I don't have to do this specific exercise with writing the letter, but I can sort of sit down and be like, okay, what's going on now? And see when you see what the root of it is.
Mhm.
And I don't have to say, okay, I'm writing this letter and I'm really angry, and it's because this thing happened when I was 4 and blah blah blah. I don't have to do that.
No.
Like sometimes things are stuck in in your subconscious, and they can come out and sort of be released without you exactly identifying what it is. It's sort of finding a way to recognize what the feelings are is sort of the beginning of the actual surrender practice.
And
First, fir-
can you guide us into like just bring us through an example, because I think to just, yeah, for example, take fear or anger, which are emotions or feelings that most of us want to just get rid of.
okay, let's see what I can come up with. Because I don't remember like specific examples. I have a few, but
No,
they're
but
sort of heavy.
you don't need to take your specific
Yeah.
example, but
Okay.
just staying with those emotions, because I think it could be. I mean, I relate immediately to the 3 steps in the 12-step program in the beginning, because it's such a tiny steps, especially for when I think that, okay, I'm angry now, I don't want to. I have really applied the 24 rules from last time we talked,
Hmm.
And it really helped me. It really helped me. Interesting to see how that changing.
So wait,
Um,
tell people what the what 24-hour rule
yeah,
is.
but Pernilla introduced in one of our podcasts that when she got new into the program, the AA program, the sponsor, or they were saying that don't act in the next 24 hours. So if you feel upset, or if there is a receiving an email or a phone call that just pisses you off, step back and stay with it for 24 hours and see, and sometimes just maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, but
Hmm.
and see how that emotion and how that energy actually is transforming. And then you're getting, and that's what we also talked about, that being patient gives you a sense of wisdom, and then maybe this
Hmm.
problem is not that big or it's not that important, and you can even see what your part is into it, and handle in a more wise way, or in a more constructive way.
Yeah,
Right, so I
it's
think
a
that
great tool. It's a very good,
it's a great tool.
yeah.
But that's what I mean also, that I know that David Hawkins writes also about fear and anger in his book.
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
but
because
they are in.
everything goes back to fear and anger and pride. I mean, we know
Yeah,
that from AA,
yeah,
but if you drill it down to most things that happen with us, fear is behind most of it.
yeah,
Fear that somehow uh I mean, most of it's interesting too, because the human being, deep down, we're afraid that we're somehow not going to survive. So a lot of the things that happen comes down to that. And
mm,
I mean, it sounds far-fetched, but if you think about it, like, little, like, at least for me, my fight or flight was always was always set off by
mm,
almost everything that happened, right? And then at some point I'm like, wait a minute, why am I reacting like somebody just died?
mm,
Um, and it's very interesting to see it. And so we have to look at fear and anger are a part of all of the, the practice of surrender. So what am I angry about? What am I fearful about? And sometimes actually it's hard to discover. And maybe we
yeah.
just have to look at I'm angry now.
But how can
Okay.
I surrender to these feelings that are so, um, what can I say, that are so upsetting emotions to be with?
Yeah.
If I now feel anger, the tool of 24 hours will help me. That's one way of putting myself into the surrender process. Is there another, um, like when you have worked through this, is there
Yeah.
other pathways that you can share that would be, leaned up on the moment of surrender to it?
Yeah, the moment of surrender. But I mean, it's hard to, I think that the things that we have talked about, like writing the letter,
Mm, mm,
waiting,
mm,
waiting, are really the most constructive practical tools.
mm,
I love that the Buddhists called patience wisdom, because that's really, in this case, it's so very true.
mm,
So when you're angry, if you're gonna be even more like, acting at the moment of anger actually makes it even worse, right? Because you're
mm,
just fueling the anger, and then you cause more upset. And
mm,
it's like there's like this, I read about this, like some Native American tribes, like if somebody passes away, you can grieve for a year, but then it's over. You're not allowed to talk
yeah,
about it
yeah,
anymore. And so that's a little bit the same thing. Like when you're angry, okay, so an example, when I was using, if I went on a date or something and the guy did something bad, like I would call like 10 people and talk about it, and keep it going.
yeah, yeah. You were nurturing it.
Yeah. For the day, I would just like keep it going throughout the day on the phone, endless conversation.
So
And
interesting, because I would do the opposite. I would just deny it. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
repress it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you could say that repressing, and that's an interesting conversation too. Like, can waiting to surrender be confused with suppressing your emotion? And I don't
Interesting.
know if we're skilled enough, because we're not PhDs here, to sort of figure this out. And that's why I think the feeling of the feelings. So, okay.
Yeah, but just stop that 2 seconds, because I think what you just said is very interesting. And even if we don't have a PhD, I think we can talk about it. But when you said you wanted to nurturing it by talking to 10 people, I was repressing it, but I was repressing it due to shame.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And repression probably meant that you just went out and did more drugs.
Of course.
Yeah.
Ah,
It didn't mean that you sat down with a pen and your diary to feel your emotion.
oh no.
No.
I still
No, you
think it's
just,
difficult to find to feel my emotions. I'm still where I mean,
but
you.
everybody does.
I think
Yeah, I
it's.
think that that's just how life is. We don't want to feel bad. Human beings just, we
Mm,
have an aversion. I mean, of course, it's like duh. We don't like to feel bad. And that's why people like you and me drink.
mm.
And that's why most people, they drink or, watch endless hours of TV, or they just want to check out. And some of that is totally actually a good thing. Like my daughter, no, it's not a good thing to watch TV for 10 hours a day, but she comes home from school and she's an introvert and she's so spent. She's completely drained because she's interacting with people all day, and she likes to be kind, and so she like she's not completely relaxed throughout the day. She comes home and she sits down on the couch. She pulls up her blanket and eats her little acai bowl that I get for her, and watches like the Fuller House
Mm.
or Gilmore Girls, which are like these like feel good like tween shows. And that's she sort of like goes into her little zone.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
how she recharges her
yeah.
batteries.
Mm,
And it's her comfort zone. So that's
mm,
good. That's
mm,
that's
mm,
we need sort of techniques. And
mm,
David Hawkins actually talks about this. When good things not good things, sorry. When really bad things happen,
mm.
like overwhelmingly disaster, somebody died, or something really
An
horrible.
accident. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, distract yourself.
yeah.
Don't try to feel in the beginning. Distract yourself for a time period so that you can get to a place where you can actually begin to feel a minuscule part of what it is that happened. And I love that, because it's like, feel your feelings, but that's not going to work after something terrible. I mean, then you'll just
Mm,
like go into shock and pass out,
mm,
right?
mm.
Um, so okay, where were we now? We're going to talk about how, if you're angry, what? I can't
We're going
remember.
to talk about no, no, but we talked about anger and fear and how we could, how to surrender in that moment. But you said, we can write it down, we can step back to the 24
Yeah,
hours.
yeah,
But and you just mentioned another two, like just to tap out, to tap out
yeah.
and
Walk
do
away,
something else. Yeah,
Yeah, do something else.
distract
Exactly. If
distract
you're
yourself.
really, really pissed off and you're like, if you're really, really pissed off, maybe writing a letter about how pissed off you are is like, in the
Mm,
moment, you're like, screw
mm,
that. That's like so fucking stupid. Right. So for you, for example, you have the perfect setup in Denmark, because you can just go down and jump into the ocean, and immediately that's going to shift how you feel.
yeah.
Other people, walking your dog, I had a
Mm,
thing. Oh my God, this is hilarious. I had I used to go to this like little baby class with my daughter when she was a newborn. And the teacher, her name is Maria Johnson. She lives here in Princeton, where we live. She said that she had discovered that tapping into the other part of your brain when
yeah.
upset is really great. So the anger lives in your right side, in your emotional side. And if you go, for example, if you're really mad and you go on a walk and you talk to your friend about how mad you are, you're not actually moving out of the right brain,
No.
right side of the brain, right? You're just staying there. So, because people say that, oh, you're pissed off, go for a walk. And she's like, well, not always. So for me, because I have right now a very strong part of my right brain. You know, I write and we create and I meditate, and that's the like, so I play piano. So all of that lives in my right side of the brain. But at the time, I I also did a lot of bookkeeping. Like my job before all this was accounting, right? And those spreadsheets, Excel, like making budgets and bookkeeping, like really gets me in the zone of my left brain. But it really gets me in the zone. I forget time when I'm making spreadsheets, just like I do when I meditate. So
So
I
that could
started.
be a sort of meditation for you when you do the
Oh
spreadsheets,
yes,
actually.
totally. When I worked at MySpace and I was doing finances, I would put on like serious techno music in my headphones, and I would like sit on my computer for like 6 hours and do budgets and stuff. So what I discovered in when Alice was a little girl, and I found out that you can check into your left side of the brain to sort of get out of how you feel.
Mhm. Mhm.
I would say to James, I'd be like, I'm going to go upstairs and do some bookkeeping. And he was like, okay, honey. And he knew, because I had told him about this, that meant that I needed to like take a break from my like craziness. And it worked every time. I would go up
Amazing.
to my little desk and I would like get out my little binder with like bills and stuff and organize them in, order, I don't know, somehow. But then, and then I would do the monthly bookkeeping, and then I would come back downstairs and I'm like, hey dude, everything's great now, because I had
So,
checked out of. So it's a really good way to sort of step away from yourself
but isn't
in the
that
heat of
also
the
to
moment.
surrender in the moment? I mean,
I guess, yeah, I mean, maybe
I
that's what I
mean,
was doing. I mean, this is like 15 years ago, so I don't really know what I was doing, but I knew that it worked for me. So whatever people have, the
but it
first thing I
sounds
would
like
say.
you've been quite aware, like, even 15 years ago, being quite aware of that you did that. You know what I mean? And
Yeah. No,
actually,
I
that it
knew.
was working.
Yeah, I knew that it worked. And James knew that it worked, which was so, he's so funny like that. He's like, "Oh yeah, bookkeeping sounds good. Go." So it's interesting how the mind works. So I guess I would give that as another advice. Like, what is, if people can actually understand what is their right brain and what is their left brain.
Yeah.
What is the to-do list side of your head is, is that the side of you that you can check out to and
Mm.
reset a little bit when in the heat of the moment. And when you can access something else like that, it will give you the space to come back to the right side and process it in a more healthy way.
Mm.
Because again, surrender will only happen after you recognize how to healthily process your feeling behind whatever it is. So I'm going to give an
Wait, wait,
example
wait.
now.
Say that again. Say that again.
You have to. There's a process behind feeling the feelings, and I hate
Yeah.
actually that expression, because
Mm.
like, feel your feelings. I'm like, what does
Mm.
that even mean?
Mm.
What does that
Mm.
mean?
Mm.
But recognizing what it is, the
Mm.
letter, or just
Mm.
taking a moment to have it subside. Um, because that's another thing that David Hawkins says. Whatever it is, the angry feelings will always run
Always
out at
pat.
some
Yeah.
point. They
Mm.
always pass. So taking a
They
moment
all
to
do.
let it,
Mm.
yeah, taking a moment to let it run out, taking it and have a life. So it's not like you're shutting it down, like going out and drinking more, but having it, giving your feelings space to live within you by
Mm.
not calling somebody, by not trying to fix how you feel, just letting it be within you. That's really hard actually for us.
Mm.
But that process has to happen in order for you to fully be able to surrender. Because if you're
And yeah,
shutting
and
it
yes,
down
yeah. If
by
you shut it
saying
down, it's going to come back.
it's going to come back. But I have certain items in my life that still come back. And um, I see that it still comes back. And I'm sort of surrendered to the fact that there's
It
certain
comes back.
issues from childhood, for example,
Mm.
that really maybe will never be completely surrendered. But I
No,
have surrendered to that.
to that. Yeah, I got
Yeah.
it. But
You
just
know,
to tap back to the process of being with your feelings, because I think that that's also an awakening process of how to cope with the feelings. Because if you stay with anger, if you stay with fear, by identify the feeling where in the body, the intensity, if there is a form or a shape or color or whatever. I mean, I think that when you're becoming aware of how you can meet the feeling with that kind of awareness or attitude, then it's easier to be with it. You know what I mean? Because it's quite. I think that's also a tool of how can I stay with my feelings, or how can I not be fearful to open up the door to the spectrum of the feelings, and knowing that it will pass. It will
yeah, it
not
will
last.
pass.
Nothing will last forever, not even the
No,
love, or I mean, like all feelings will
all
pass,
feelings,
good
negative
or
and
bad or what.
positive.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But oh,
Uh-oh, your
but
computer just fell over.
no, but I think that that tool of not being afraid to be with your feelings is important.
I know, but when you say don't be afraid to be with your feelings, it's like I don't even understand. Like if this was 15 years ago, I wouldn't even understand what that meant.
No,
How do we find a way to even understand that we are afraid of our feelings?
yeah,
So,
but I think if you look of how you act, then you will see. I mean, if you're afraid of your feelings, well, that's when you do the drugs. That's when you overshop. That's when you go out too much running. That's when that's when you
yeah,
really escape
that's
for
when you're
everything.
running. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
you
when
escape.
you're
So
running from
that's
everything.
so you can just look at your life and say, okay, and I still do it quite often. But I think that
What
you
do you
more
do?
get a no, but that could be no, no, I don't run anymore. But running was in the beginning of my recovery, running was an extremely good way of me of suppressing my feelings. Oh, let's
Well,
go
I
out for a
mean,
run, and I
yeah,
can run, and I can start competing with myself, and I got the adrenaline kicking in, and there was another different. But I think
but
today, even there are feelings that I don't like, I know that the attitude I meet the feelings are is important for me. Like
yeah.
if I go in and say, okay, I know it will pass. Oh, it's uncomfortable. God, my whole body is just like, oh, I want to get out of it. I feel it in the throat. I feel it. But when that becomes a curiosity in that journey, then I think it's easier to stay with the feelings.
Yeah, that is excellent. And I just want to say that running in early recovery is an excellent way to quote suppress your feelings. And I actually wouldn't even say that it's suppressing. It's actually caretaking in a way, because if you come from a place where you've been using drugs every day and that's what you do to sort of get out of yourself, because it's so awful early recovery when you're just feeling like so much shame and you're so uncomfortable and you're remembering everything that you did, and it's just awful how you feel. And running is then actually the best tool, as long as you don't start running 5 hours a day. That's not so great for you. But again, that's when David Hawkins talks about that it's fine if a complete disaster happens and you want to watch 10 hours of TV, go
Mm.
for it. So it depends on where you are with these things. I mean, the only thing I say don't do is more drugs. Don't go drinking when you're, because that's actually going to make it even worse. So
Yeah, yeah.
but I guess so today we talk about curiosity, understanding. For me, it's almost like a science experience at this point, because I
Yeah.
rarely become angry. because I've gone through this process for years now. And so, for example, today I told you about this at the last podcast, but I'm bringing my dog to Sweden this summer because we're going to be gone for so long, and he's my team, he's my buddy, so I'm bringing him. But we had a flight where he was really upset, and felt bad, so I haven't brought him for a few years because it's a tortured. He's too big for the cabin, so I have to send him in the
Oh,
luggage
really?
car.
He's too
Yeah,
big. So he need.
it's very tough on everybody. But now I've gotten him medicine, so he gets a little woozy, and he's getting like anti-nausea and stuff like that. But today I'm going
Are
to
you
get
giving him some drugs?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I tested it on him, and it's like he's like,
I thought you were saying I tested on myself.
oh yeah, no. I tested it on him, and like he usually goes completely berserk when the mailman comes. He's just like
Yeah.
literally he's about to
Oh, really?
combust with he barks like crazy. And when we gave him this medicine, he's like, oof, he just stands there. So, but today I'm going to get him the certificate that I have to get for him to fly and go through customs in Sweden. And it's like the certificate, you go to the vet, they send it to the USDA, which is like the official governmental department that has to stamp it so you can bring him out of the country. And of course, it's 10 days before we travel. So I'm now like, what if we don't get it back on time? It's like this whole thing. And I've been like the whole week, I'm like, why is it that I believe that we won't get it back
Yeah.
on time?
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah.
What is it that I think that this is a core belief system
Mm,
within me
mm, mm.
that somehow it's not going to be okay. So I
So let's
actually,
stay there. Let's stay there
yeah,
because I think this is so interesting. So, did you meditate on that, knowing where it comes from, or what is that lack of faith coming? I think a lot of people can identify with this. Like,
yeah,
why do we experience, or maybe you have experience from previous occasions, and that's why you are in this process now.
yeah. To be honest, I really have not put my finger on it 100%
Mm,
yet because it is uh, an ongoing process. But I feel like during COVID, I was struggling a lot with. I talked about this before, because I traveled several times to Sweden from the US because my dad was really sick, and I make it a point to go see him. And so I went, traveled and had to get COVID tests within a time and fill out document. I mean, it was like, many times that I had to do that. And I went on trips that took me 22 hours to get to Sweden when it usually only takes 7 because I had to fly to
mm,
Germany and wait there for hours. And it was tough. So these trips like almost like drove me over the edge because I always thought that something would go wrong.
mm,
And I remember sitting because we had a small group of AA women that would come up to my backyard, and we would go through, and I was always talking about like, what is it that makes me think that it's not going to be
mm,
okay and that I'm going to get stuck somewhere?
mm,
So this is part of the same thing. So since I haven't really figured out what it is that makes me feel this way, what is it that makes me feel stuck? Like maybe
mm,
it's part of this, like we talked about this last time, like this thing, helplessness versus control. At
mm,
some point when I was little, I felt helpless,
mm,
like things weren't going to work out.
mm,
And, for whatever reason, I think that I was super sensitive as a child. So I might have felt more helpless than the
mm.
reality actually was. So maybe it's a core belief that
Yeah.
I think that things are not going to work out. So, but through the time of COVID, I repeatedly got through this process of getting all the tests on time,
Mm,
getting through different countries to get to Sweden. And my sense of anxiety and fear and worry over time started reducing. So it's in
mm,
the back of my mind that what if this doesn't happen? And what if this doesn't happen? But back then I would literally spend like hours Googling finding all the testing places, finding the testing places that did it the fastest, figuring out all the documents that we needed to have, calling ahead to make sure that they had the right test. I mean, all those things that I did around it to try to fix and control and
To
make sure
control it.
everything was planned out. So over time, that started lessening. Like I would fix, instead of calling to 5 times to ask questions, I would call 1 time. You know, so this is like the obsession of the control to try to figure it out. So today, like this specific thing, which goes in like, I mean, it's a minor thing, like, but I've gone through in my head, like, okay, well, if we don't get the document, we'll have to change our flight. So
So
what?
what?
Yeah. But that's where I'm like, well, why would I even think, you know? So
But
around this, all I did was minor planning, but I actually have spent way less time worrying about it than I usually have, because I know that this is a part of my core. It's a core belief system that I still haven't, I just have learned tools through surrender of how to deal with it.
But when you say core belief system, I immediately think that, you know, the core belief system we're downloading from our ancestors or from our parents. So I think that, I mean, well, because I think what you mentioned there, I think a lot of people can identify 9 out of 10. And I mean, I can see my sister, I can see my mom, I can see myself, I can see Elton, you know, I can see, I think that, you know, Sixten is the only person I know who does not have it, that only believe in the good things, and, you know, he set that energy to come. But I think that if you look back on the collective unconsciousness, like if you look back in life and what they have been going through, the World War One, the World War Two, and how everything has there is a mistrust that we have downloaded, a mistrust that that's why we need to come back, that the universe supporting us, universe is not working against us, even if it feels like that sometimes, but then the universe is actually here to protect us. There is no evilness in the universe. So I think that, but because when you get to, if you really go deep in the core belief system and see, okay, where is this coming from? And you can see, oh, I understand now, because my mother or whoever, she was also mistrusting in this. And then we unconsciously have downloaded it. So I think that in the progress of being aware of it, and in small, tiny, you know, leaps, step by step, we surrender more and more and more and more and more. Certain things maybe never get really completely surrendered, but they get understood.
Yeah. This is such a great point that you're bringing up. I'm so glad you
Because
did
because
that.
I also think what you said, that, you know, controlling, but you're also taking responsibility. That's a difference between that too. You know, because someone would say, oh, I just travel and see whatever happens. But, you know, okay, but then you bring it down from 5 phone calls to 1 and have faith in that.
Yeah, I think it's such an excellent point. And yes, it is a collective unconscious belief. Human beings, and when you say sometimes the universe is against us, I think that lots of people most likely think that it's against us most of the time. I mean, it's life is tough, right? Life is hard. So, but the collective downloading of that things won't work out is I definitely a huge thing here, because I remember reading the book *Sapiens*, which is a great book, and it talks about this, that, you know, as humans, when we used to live in tribes and in huts, and we could be eaten by a wolf on the way to get our water from the stream, we were always in fight or flight, because the elements of nature were in a way where it was much harder to survive. So that also comes down into the generations. Like now we're not afraid of being eaten by a bear, because we don't see any bears, you know, but that also comes into that. And then you add generations of like, okay, well, you know, it was hard to find food. It was hard, you know, like all, like you died from childbirth. I mean, all these things that were threatened our survival
Mm.
It's almost like the last 100 years is the first time where we can trust that we're actually going to live for a long time.
Mm.
So that's in this.
Mm.
That's part of that's at least my belief. And of course, again, we're not PhDs here, but from everything I've read, that's part of this.
Mm.
It's a collective thing that it's not going to work out, and that's why we usually freak out when things don't go our way. And it's not all. It's depending on when we're having an
Mm.
argument with our husband, it's not the same. But so also, but that's recognizing that, and that's what I'm trying to say. Surrendering, I'm surrendered to the fact that this is a belief system that I have,
Mm.
and I take care of it by planning and finding
Mm.
out ways how I
Mm.
can be less anxious
Mm.
in order to support myself.
Mm.
Um, and also to not create chaos around it, because that's something about, like, I always talk about eating, because
Yeah.
if we
I
show
know
up at the
my friend
airport.
who eats the most.
Yeah. So if
Well,
we show up at the airport and I have my dog and we're going to put him in the crate and no one's eaten, and for some reason maybe I'm missing a piece of a document, right, that I had to bring that I forgot at
mm.
home, or it's on my phone and they actually need it printed.
Mm.
If everybody's hungry and tired at that moment, we're all going to freak out.
Mm.
But if I arrive planned, going through my checklist with
Mm.
having planned ahead what's going to arrive, what's going to appear at the check-in counter, and the fact that, like, because we now we me and my kids were like, we get to the airport, we eat, we
Mm.
we get on the plane, we eat again, we arrive at the destination.
We eat.
First thing we do before we even going to try to, like, we get our luggage, we eat again. Because how many times do you arrive in a destination, get to the hotel, and everybody's screaming,
Mm.
we're hungry?
Mm.
So it's like surrendering to that. We have to
Yeah.
understand this process
But
and
this is
planning for it.
yeah. But I have two things. One thing that just came to my mind because you said, remember you said hungry, and I remember I learned this in the early recovery was halt, as an
Yeah,
age
I love
like
Holt.
hungry, angry, lonely, and tired.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a quite good thing also to surrender to the moment, like to stop up and see what is going on. Am I hungry? Am I angry? Do I feel lonely? Am I tired? Because that is also to surrender in that moment of becoming more aware of why am I reacting this way? What am I doing? How can I think clear? How I'm going to act from this? My other thing was that, and this is a question, can I, determination of I surrender, can that help?
I think so,
Mm.
because it's a reminder.
Mm.
It's the same thing that I left this yellow book on my nightstand for years. It wasn't that I was reading it necessarily, but if I saw it there, it would remind me.
Mm.
So, I don't know how one would, but you need reminders. That's why people were like, "Why do you still go to meetings if you're in recovery?" I'm like, "Because you need reminders.
Mm.
You need a reminder of how to do this." And if it's putting out the book to look at it and say, "Oh, right, I have to surrender,"
Mm.
or determination, like, I'm
Mm.
gonna figure this out.
Mm.
That's it's all a process. It's
Yeah.
the awakening process. So listen, I'm gonna read two more things, because then
Wonderful.
actually I have so much to read from this book. I don't know where
Yeah, but
even what.
we're gonna continue.
Yeah. So okay, I read two things, and then we have to end,
Mm.
because no one
Mm.
wants to listen to us anymore, I don't think. Okay, page 21, the mechanism of letting go is the chapter. To be surrendered means to have no strong emotion about a thing. It's okay if it happens, and it's okay if it doesn't. When we are free, there is a letting go of attachments. We can enjoy a thing, but we don't need it for our happiness.
Mm.
And then the last thing, and then we'll do recap and end. This is from the end of the book, which the chapter called Peace, which is what he says is, if you are a fully surrendered person and you've gone through all the stages of surrender, you ended up in a place called what he calls peace, which for me, it feels like a peace, like it's just the you're present, a sense of presence, like a flow throughout the day. So this is what it says.
What page are you on now? If someone wants
188.
Mm.
With continual surrender, we begin to experience these states of peace with ever increasing frequency. At times, they may become quite profound and of greater and greater duration. So the states of peace stay with you throughout the day. Surrender isn't a piece of your day. It's the way that you live throughout the day. When the clouds are removed, the sun shines forth, and we discover that peace was the truth all along. Surrender is the mechanism that uncovers the true nature of our existence. And that's what I've found too. Surrender is the process to discover our true nature. Because underneath all our emotion is a connection to the ultimate energy that holds us all.
And I just want to say, I think we have moments of this, but I think that at least I can talk for myself, but my mission or my purpose in life is really to do my human revolution of becoming more in peace with myself.
Yeah.
Because when we are in peace with ourselves, we have just more peaceful attitude towards our surroundings and the challenging we're meeting and the people who are provoking us. And I think, but this is just by you reading these two things out there, I have so much to tap into or ask into or, to discuss. So we need to keep that for the next time.
Yeah, part 3 next week.
Maybe you're going to start next week with these that we ended with this time. So we can.
Okay. Sounds good.
Oh, that's lovely.
I'm going to the vet now.
Are you going to the vet now? But darling, listen, thank you. First of all, thank you everybody for listening to us. We love this. We really hope that we're giving you some tools and yeah, we should do the short recap of today. Do you want to do it or should I do it?
I can't remember what we talked about
No,
already.
but well, the theme is surrender and it's a process. Back to the 24 hours, step back, stay with it, get distracted if you're really in an emotionally roller coaster and you can't really, be in the feelings. It's okay to just, go for a run, watch some Netflix or whatever. You can write the letter, just get the anger out of you if it's really the anger letter. You can stop up and ask into the whole thing, I think, angry, lonely, and tired, and say, okay, do I need to do some of these things? That's a moment of stopping up and surrender to the present moment. We know that you're more awake we become, and we can experience this on our own life and body and mind, that will, that will stay with us. So it will not, we are in the progress and the process of surrender. Did I forget anything? And that we love.
No, that was great. Yeah, the book is great.
And that's
Namaste,
also one
my
thing
friend.
I just wanted, but just one thing before ending, because you can read the same book. Pernilla read this book 13 times plus, that you can tap into the same chapter and understand it on a different angle, different path, different profound, whatever, because we are progressing.
Yeah. Every time it's a different story.
Yeah. Wonderful. So thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Pernilla. I love you the most. You're wonderful. Well, we see each other on Wednesday again.
Are we? That's amazing. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Namaste.
Okay. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.